My fiancé is cheating on me with a white woman and I don't know what to do. When you talk about black men, my mother always told me the expression, "The man who was born to cheat, is always a cheater." In the case of my fiancé, with whom I have a beautiful 2-year-old girl, I never believed that he would cheat on me with another woman, especially, when we talk about a white woman. Why did my boyfriend cheat on me with another woman? How did I discover the betrayal of my fiancé? How is it affecting me emotionally, that my man cheated on me? It is the story that I will tell you in this video. You will know all the answers, if this type of misleading behavior happens to you. In this short story you will talk about the drama and broken feeling, and distrust in men when your man cheats on you with another woman. As in any relationship at the beginning everything is rosy, where your man praises you with hundreds of compliments, many spicy looks, words of appreciation, celebrating your style of dress and the latest hairstyle that you wear, how you handle yourself. But, above all his praise is directed at your body, looking sexy and something you should do every time you go out with him. You have to have well-groomed nails with overpriced designs, always wearing high heels, and wearing on-trend makeup as a way to compete in the nightclub with other black women. Many nights we made love 2 or 3 times and he never tired of putting his hands all over my body. Some of my girlfriends told me that we were part of a honeymoon, where physical infatuation is the reason why we need to have sex all the time. Some assured me that this stage of the relationship ends and each one begins to see each other in a more realistic way. The need to impress is over, and you begin to get to know who he really is as a man, as a father and as a boyfriend. As a man in love, I received calls from him up to 10 times a day, and let's not talk about all the text of loving words received. Every weekend he took me to the nightclub, dancing every night with our bodies pressed together, as if we were making love to the beat of the music. I was at the center of my man's desires, but I was also the admiration of my fiancé, when he introduced me to his friends. After 3 months of our relationship, we moved together in a rented apartment, as a way of making love in our own place. But, everything changed when she got pregnant with our beautiful daughter, something that should be expected from a man. I began to have the idea that he was with me only for sex, for my body, as one more trophy, not for the person or the mother of his children. When my daughter's pregnancy began to show, for me the visits to the nightclub ended. Many times he did not spend the night in the apartment with me, because for my fiancé, for him the most important thing is the nightclub life. As a woman, I stopped being the center of attention, and the days we made love it was because I asked her to. In a few words, as a result of the pregnancy, my fiancé did not like me as a woman. I stopped being that attractive woman that my man never took her hands off of my body before getting pregnant. It was one of the big changes I noticed. He would call him many times and he would answer me 2 or 3 hours later, sometimes with an arrogant and conceited attitude, as if my call bothered him. That moment, analyzing my fiancé's attitude could be one of the first signs, when a man is cheating on his wife. It was the kind of conclusion that never came to my mind, typical of a woman in love who was expecting a child from his boyfriend. For some reason, for months I tried to make amends with my fiancé, but nothing I did gave the expected results. For some reason I was convinced that this would be the situation, while I was pregnant. I learned to put up with all his insults, his indifference, but I also learned to be silent even when he was right. My mother told me that for the sake of the pregnancy I should take it easy and be so emotional with a man who doesn't care what you feel and need. Every time my fiancé was late, I could tell from the look on her face that I didn't have a good day. When I tried to create some empathy as a wife, as a way to make him feel good, his answers were always, "I don't need your pity." In the most difficult moments, I would sometimes talk to my mother to vent about how I felt, and the only answer I heard was hers woman. I had to solve my problems with my fiancé for the well-being of the child, who is about to arrive. But, something that aroused anger about him, when one of my friends told me that she had seen my man dating a white woman in one of the most popular clubs in the city. That kind of news from my girlfriend had a devastating effect on me emotionally, but it also damaged my self-esteem as a woman a little. I felt less of a woman than all women and more when my girlfriend told me that she was a white girl that my fiancé has been dating. My mother always told me that the cheating of men with another woman is something that you must learn to put up with. As soon as my fiancé arrived at the house, I confronted him about that news, asking him if it was true, that he was cheating on me with another woman. The refusal, the excuses, the lies and the offended expression on his face, confirmed what my friend had told me days ago. No matter how much my man assured me, that it was not true. For a woman there is no worse feeling, when she feels that her man is cheating on her with another woman, and even more so when that woman is pregnant. You would say that jealousy makes you see things, where they are, and you are looking for signs to verify what you think is truth. As a silly woman in love, many times we accept the explanations of a man when he is betraying you because that is what you want to hear. I have always known from my mother's advice, that the man who is born to be a cheater is always a cheater, and more so when we talk about black men. Right now there are very few black men who have not cheated on his wife once in their relationship life. It's like a pandemic from which the black community has always invaded. Although I badly accepted the fiancé's explanation about the alleged relationship with a black woman, in my mind the suspicion and distrust towards my fiancé grew. Many times when my man was in the bathroom, I tried to open one of the social networks that he uses the most, but, his phone needed a password to access the phone, that way he could read the last text that my fiancé received, to confirm what I'm thinking. When my boyfriend was taking the shower, I demands that I wanted to see the last text received, and he looked at me with an astonished face, arguing that he didn't care who I talked to, who texted on my phone, so I shouldn't care who he talked to in texting, all day. Like telling me that wasn't my business, if I didn't trust him that wasn't his problem, that was my problem. Confronting again, looking into his eyes, I asked him, "Are you cheating on me with another woman?" In which he answered me, if that was true there was not much I could do, given my state of pregnancy. Like blaming my pregnancy for all the couple conflicts we were having lately. As a result of my pregnancy, and even more so when you are mothers for the first time, my medical problems associated with pregnancy increased. I had to leave my job, which required me to be on my feet all the time, which is a result of my weight gain and the swelling of my feet. The doctor recommended that I stay home. The only problem is that the salary I earned was used to pay rent, although my fiancé contributed to other expenses was not enough, which prompted me to seek financial assistance in paying rent, electricity and food coupons. When I explained my economic situation to my fiancé and my inability to pay the rent for the apartment, his answer was, that I should move to my mother's house while I am pregnant. On top of that, I have to swallow my pride as a woman, living with a man who cheats with another woman. That man does not want to contribute to the household expenses. That tells me, accepting reality, that my fiancé was the wrong man the moment I decided to open both legs, so that he could get me pregnant. without hope and knowing what to do in the face of my disastrous situation. To prevent my baby from growing up as a child without a father was something that worried me, more than paying rent and my fiancé's cheating with another woman. One of the big problems with asking for help from public assistance is that they, as a bureaucratic process, need verifiable information about the father, something that my fiancé refused to provide me with, since having a child with me was never in his plans. Listening to my story, you would come to the conclusion that my boyfriend is not a trustworthy man, from whom you can expect the worst, that it is time for me to leave that man. But when you are in love with a man, who does not value you and on top of it don't care that you are pregnant, accepting that a man doesn't want to be with you anymore, is not easy to accept. As a woman, I have to accept that opening my legs to the first black man who spoke nicely to my ears and told me hundreds of promises that I wanted to hear is something, because I don't have to accept responsibility, even though my mother said that my boyfriend was a good for nothing, who was only looking for me for sex and a pretty face to take her to a nightclub. Weeks after having the big argument with my fiancé, about the financial problems I was going through, and his refusal to help pay the rent for the apartment, one Saturday night, one of my girlfriends, with whom we sometimes visited the nightclub, said on the phone, that if I wanted to find my man with a woman he was cheating on me, today was the time to confront him with the truth. Because my man was sitting talking affectionately next to a white woman in a from the tables near the DJ's music platform. Without thinking twice, despite the pregnancy, full of anger, desperation, nervousness, uncertainty and desire for revenge, I lost my mind because of jealousy. I put on a presentable dress, I put on my favorite wig, I took the car key. Full of fury, I left the apart to face the woman who was taking away my husband and father of my future child. I have to admit that, I arrived as a crazy woman of revenge, furious and insanely jealous. I entered the door of the nightclub. Even when the doorman told me that he did not want drama in the club, I didn't pay any attention to it. I went to the table, where my fiancé was sitting with another woman. Furious at my man, because I found him next to that other woman with whom my man has been cheating on me for months, without thinking about the well-being of my pregnancy, what people said, what my man thought. I stood in front of my fiancé's lover sitting next to him, accusing her of destroying the relationship between me and my fiancé. She answered me in a huff, slapping my fiancé, accusing him of being a liar, when many times he assured her that he was a single man, who had no commitment to a woman. For some reason, even though I am seeing that the white woman that my fiancé was cheating on me with, she was also being cheated on by my fiancé, for some reason all my anger, yelling, insults, bad words, and confrontation was directed towards a woman, who he was a victim just like me of the lies of my man. Despite the loud music that was heard in the dance hall and the loud music played by the DJ, many people noticed the fight between couples, which was usual in nightclubs, in which cheating between couples was almost always the cause. Major. My boyfriend denied at the time that I was dating the white woman next to her, denying that I was cheating on her. Product of ugly nightclub scene. My man accused me of being a jealous woman, who was acting like a crazy woman out of control. He also accused me, that I was embarrassing him in front of his friends at the club, who at that moment were laughing at him for his fiancé's jealous scene. My man took me by the arm and dragged me out of the club, and when we were on the street with a face full of anger, frustration and shame, he told me that the relationship, it had ended that night, because I was the type of woman who didn't I had control of my emotions. My responses to the discussion outside the club told him out loud that I didn't want to know anything about him. From that moment our relationship was over. Crying, nervous, and desperate, I drove to my mother's house as a way to lean on someone in one of the most difficult moments of my life as a woman, but also of my future child. As a woman outside of herself, I knocked on my mother's door. And when she opened, looking at the desperate expression on my face, she hugged me without saying anything. Maybe she as a woman could understand what she was going through at that moment. My mother told me many times with a loving softness in her voice, "Everything will be fine, sweetheart. Everything will be fine, don't worry about anything, just think about what you carry in your womb and how much he or she will need of you." After many tears, little by little calm came to me, then I began to take control of my emotions. Some of you would say, why am I telling this story to you? No one doubts that one of the problems faced by Black women is the high level of infidelity that exists between couples. Both men and women are equally responsible. My mother always told me that a nightclub is not the best place to look for a husband, but because of the stupidity that every young woman does, that think that it can only happen to another girl, not me. As was my case in particular, I believed that I was the owner of the truth. But the story that I am telling you shows us how stupid I was. Weeks after that disastrous fight with my ex-fiancé at the nightclub, due to the fact that I was several months behind on the rent of the apartment, I had to move to my mother's house with a 7-month pregnancy from a man who doesn't care about anything. Since I didn't have a job and lost my health insurance, I was accepted into the public assistance insurance for pregnant women, in which I have state insurance for myself, also for the nutritional and health well-being of my future baby. Why do men cheat on women with other women? Why do women blame other women, when their husbands cheat on them? These are respective behaviors learned socially according to what the therapist, who is treating me right now as a single mother, explained. For not listening to my mother's advice, for believing that you know everything, for believing that physical beauty can do everything, that satisfying your man sexually is the best remedy so that a man does not cheat on you with another woman, and finally believing that having a child is a guarantee that your man will always be with you. You have one of the stupid ideas that dominate the mentality of young women, who hope to find a husband in a nightclub. I am telling this type of story so that other Black women learn from my bad experience and avoid making the mistakes I made, of having sex, without knowing the real intentions of the man, who is making you fall in love, having sex on first dates, without use any type of condom to avoid sexually transmitted diseases, and above all allow an unwanted pregnancy with someone you don't really know. Everything, because as a woman, I like to listen and accept as truth the lies that my fiancé told me, even when I knew that he was acting as a player. Young lady, if you like this type of dramatic story, about couple crisis, cheating of a man with another woman, please subscribe to this channel, leave your comments, and why not share this type of work.